Here we go. All right, we came up with a name for this thing in the middle of the week, right? As
Yes, we did.
Side C. What was the extra stuff that you had?
The Library of Forgotten Rock and Roll.
Yeah, there you go. So Jake, that's what we came up with. Then you're probably just gonna have to be, voted in anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So that's fine.
The Side C podcast. So welcome to Side C. Again, what we do here is we kind of dive into some interesting tracks, some interesting collections, and recordings, and we kind of talk about them. Eric Nesbitt's brainchild. I'm Victor Martinez, and we got Jake Turner here joining in a sec. But I think after the first one, I felt really good about it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited for this. So let's keep this rolling. I mean, Nez, how did you feel about the first one?
I liked it, but I just feel like Jake Turner needs to have some type of moniker, and I just thought of something that goes through my head right now, so I think we need to refer to Jake Turner as the Pride of Barstow, Illinois.
Pride of Barstow, huh?
That's not good.
No, not good.
No, I mean,
proud of?
well, that means I'd be taking over like meth spot, and I don't know if I can do that.
Oh boy, yeah, he might want to think about that one. So
I'll take a second seat to meth.
The nice thing about Barstow, Illinois, is that they just anoint themselves mayor and politicians out there. There's no vote or anything.
No.
Is that how that works?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
It sounds like that town that had the kid as, the 5-year-old as the mayor. So
Well, you do realize how the town of Barstow was established, don't you?
no,
It's one full tank of gas from Missouri.
is it really? All right, that's fair enough. Like nowadays, especially, or is it maybe 2 tanks of gas nowadays?
I think back in the day, that's how it was established.
Gotcha. Well, Jake, I don't know how you feel about that one,
Shit.
but well, if you want to take it, you can. I'm just gonna keep my Victor name, and Nez, I think you'll just go with that. So, well, kind of get back on the path here. We like I said, we did our first one, and we feel really good about it. So hopefully, you guys go check that out. That is the Side C podcast on YouTube. We'll put links to it on the Quad City Music Fans, Traders,
Collectors and Traders
Facebook page. So go join that. There I go with the thing. So see, when we listen to it, and when I listen to it, I noticed some stuff that I needed to stop doing, and yes, and nah, blah blah blah, that kind of shit I need to stop. So hopefully, yeah, we'll get through that, and bear with us while we enter this new exciting world of podcasting. So
Make a drinking game out of it.
we probably could, if you want to do that, let us know how drunk you get. You'll probably get really shitty if you listen to my stuff. So.
All you gotta do is take one sip of beer every time Victor says and you're guaranteed to be messed up by the time this podcast is over with.
Or so. So, yeah, there you go. There. All right. Anyways, really quick, I kind of wanted, I don't know if you guys heard any of this. David Bowie's wife kind of hinted at a possible tour coming up. Did you guys know anything about that?
I knew nothing about that.
I am excited because if that's true, I cannot miss this tour. Me and my buddy Mitch were looking at the set list from when he came back at the iWireless Center, the Mark back then. That was an amazing set list. Yeah, it was like a best of everything Bowie. So, and I don't remember what the time. It was early 2000s, maybe. Is that when it was?
I believe it was. The thing is that people they gravitate to Bowie for different periods of time.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of period of Bowie that I didn't care for, and then the whole Ziggy Stardust thing.
You went on your thing.
That was my thing.
I liked when the Ashes to Ashes
Yeah.
and Let's Dance and all that kind of stuff came out. I was into that.
Yeah.
And then when he did the Tin Machine, when he became a member of Tin Machine, I was all about that as well. The Ziggy Stardust stuff, I just couldn't do it. And there's a lot of people that can't.
Yeah.
And then they can, or there's a lot of people that were into the Ziggy Stardust stuff.
Nothing else.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. Well, anyways, like I said, I heard that, so I got kind of hard for that one. And
Rush tour's coming up too.
It
might be their last one.
wow.
It sounds like it is going to be their last one, because if you guys don't know the history, that Neil Peart's first marriage ended with his wife dying, I believe, of cancer, and then his
daughter
died in a car accident.
crash, yeah.
Like right away too. It's like
Right.
bam bam.
His daughter died in the car accident, and then his wife became ill with cancer and then died, I believe, within a year after
it was
that.
really quick.
Yeah, he had a rough growing up, and I think like his autobiography. I really want to read it because I heard good things about it. It's called like Ghostwriter, like a book of his memoirs or something. I don't know, but it's got all that in detail and stuff, and it's cool to kind of, that he was able to get to that point where he can do that. So.
Well, he's remarried and he has a small child now,
So that's probably what they're
and that's the whole that he just feels as though that according to Geddy Lee, which was on that great Saturday night show that I love so much, referred to that he's getting older and he feels like it's more important for him to be with this young child of his, whatever time he has left on this earth, notably so.
Yeah, because he's a big rock star, so. Going through a lot, so that'd be an interesting tour to go check out. I'd drop some money on that.
Definitely.
When they played at the Mark, it was amazing.
The last Snakes and Arrow tour?
Yes, the Snakes and Arrow tour was. I was able to see that show, and the one thing that I've learned when you go see a Rush show, you don't go see any other band within a 2-week span of seeing Rush because everything else becomes amateur. And Van Halen was the lucky one that I got to go see a week and a half later after Rush, and it was no comparison.
Was that after Michael Anthony was gone?
Yes, and that was
This was the 2008 reunion.
Yeah, that was and it was the second to last show at Rosemont, and we saw Snakes and Arrows tour a week and a half before that, and listening to that was like press play on your CD player or putting the needle down on your vinyl. And then you go see Van Halen because they just really don't care, if they're tight or not.
Yeah, it was sloppy.
It's very sloppy. So
I think what was happening during that time was I believe it was before Eddie had to go back to rehab because they stopped that tour for a nice couple months because I had tickets to the St. Louis one and it was in October, I believe, and they had to move it to March. So thankfully it was over break again, so I was able to go. And he came back. He went to the 30-day treatment for whatever he was doing, and because I heard, it matches up with what you were saying. It just was sloppy and didn't sound right and all this. And there was accounts of him, getting pretty upset with his son who's on bass, yelling on stage and not, pretty incoherent and stuff. So they did have to stop that tour. But luckily when I went to go see them, I enjoyed the show. So maybe it was just the whole situation. But yeah, you did tell me that once about Rush, and I'm pretty bummed that I missed that show.
And another thing is that as long as we're onto this, is like people really need to start giving some appreciation to how great of a guitar player Alex Lifeson is.
Right.
I mean, people always think of it's Eddie Van Halen, or it's Joe Satriani, or it's Yngwie Malmsteen. I'll take Alex Lifeson in a heartbeat over those guys any day.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, especially when it's a trio like that. There's a lot of room for messing up,
And they don't.
no,
They do not.
Well,
very tight.
and it's funny that we bring up Van Halen because I'm going to kick things off once again with our album, and our theme this week is cross-genre albums, which was an interesting one that I thought about with Nez when we were at work, and I thought, this might be coming because we did talk about this like not a couple weeks ago for years, but we'll get to that one later. But since we're on the topic of Van Halen, I went with the Strummin' with the Devil, the southern side of Van Halen. It's a tribute album. So, and I'm excited to kind of talk about this because part of this isn't even about that because it came out in 2006. It came out on June 6th, 2006. So 666.
Of course.
So, and I think there was supposed to be a Slayer LP, but that didn't even come out. So we got Strummin' with the Devil. It's a bluegrass, mainly bluegrass, a little bit country tribute to Van Halen, and it even featured some songs with David Lee Roth. Jamie's Crying and Jump. There's 2 edits of Jamie's Crying on it, and then Jump, of course, the 1984 classic Jump. But yeah, it came out on 666, along with a few other different albums that you might know of. Joe Bonamassa' You and Me, Frank Sinatra Jr.'s That Face, Ice Cube's Laugh Now, Cry Later, And one of our favorites, AFI December Underground, huh? Nez? You love that one, don't you?
Is that during when Davey was trying to be a hot chick?
The hot chick.
Oh, that was his hot chick period. Okay.
Yes, but I'm not gonna lie, that album was pretty goddamn enjoyable. But anyways, it came out on 666 with a slew of other albums. So I don't know if that was a joke or what, but you know they decided to strum with the devil on this day. But yeah, no, the David Lee Roth tracks are pretty neat to hear because like it's something like I'm a big Van Halen fan, and I definitely picked this one up when I was when it came out because I was curious like what the hell, like bluegrass and country is like those aren't anything that I typically listen to, but kind of listening to the Eruption solo on a banjo, that thing's amazing. Like, it's pretty great. Like, if you haven't listened to this album, just jump straight to the Eruption track and you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll be hooked right away. So, some of the artists that were on it were, let's see, John Jorgensen Bluegrass Band, Blue Highway, Iron Horse, David Grisman and Son, and Mountain Heart actually did one of my favorite Van Halen songs, Dance the Night Away. So, Mountain Heart, I think I said? Yeah, Mountain Heart. But I don't know any of these bands.
I don't know either, but this is not a huge surprise with David Lee Roth participating in this because I believe it was in 1990, I'm guessing 92, possibly 93, David Lee Roth's solo album, Your Filthy Little Mouth.
Oh, yeah.
It was released, and he had a country musician by the name of Travis Tritt, I believe it was.
Oh, really? He was
participating in some backing vocals, and I think doing one or possibly two duets on that album. So I don't know if David Lee Roth was inspired by Garth Brooks' Celebrity at the time or what have you,
Right.
but he was dabbling in the country music a little bit. So this is not a huge surprise to me.
But and you know what's funny? I think that might have been on the CMH Records because that's what this album went through. And it was produced by John Jorgensen of the Bluegrass Band. And maybe that was it, because I think he's on that label for this release that you're talking about. What is it? Shut Your Filthy Mouth? Or
It's Your Filthy Little Mouth.
Your Filthy Little Mouth. So that might have had something to do with it. But, this one, Strumming with the Devil, it only reached like the U.S. Billboard's top country. It only got to 66. So.
Those tribute albums don't really do that well.
Yeah.
It takes a lot for a tribute album to actually get some sales.
Yeah.
And once again, rock people are not going to take it seriously, and our country people are going to take it seriously.
Right. Probably not. Yeah.
And that's the question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would just think, a lot of there would be enough like Van Halen fans to go out and pick it up. But do you think they were in a rush to go get it?
Right.
I'm guessing that Tuesday release was not a big barn burner of a sale at your local Best Buy or whatever, your local record store.
They were probably trying to pick up that Frank Sinatra Jr. disc. So, but I enjoyed it. I don't know what happened to it. It's probably lost somewhere in my garbage. So, not calling it garbage because I enjoyed it. It's kind of one of those, listen to every once in a while, but you don't really need to. It's not burning your ears or anything, and it's not gonna hurt you if you listen to it. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Like I said, David Lee Roth is on a couple tracks, and it's really, really interesting. So, go check it out at least because you'll get a good kick out of it. I did, and I enjoyed it because I'm a Van Halen fan. I'm a David Lee Roth fan.
Well, we all know that David Lee Roth is a Jew, and they did the famous Jews of rock and roll. There was a book written about that, and it was amazing how many Jewish folk are in rock and roll. But you don't hear too many famous Jews in country music. So was David Lee Roth? Well, might have been the first one, and we don't know.
Can we consider that?
He's like David Roth. He's a weird dude. That's pretty obvious. He's got some weird solo albums. He's like going from like early Van Halen to like I'm Just a Gigolo.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he does stuff with John 5 too. That they just hang out and record it and stuff.
Yeah.
And then doing country stuff. He's weird.
Like,
he's a weird dude. But he had an amazing voice. Now it's just.
We'll see how it pans out. Now, is that new Tokyo Dome release, the Van Halen one? Is that like new Van Halen stuff, or is that like an old?
I'm not sure.
I think it's from the reunion tour.
The big tour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I remember seeing the track listing, I thought it had some of the newer stuff on it.
Okay. I think I might pick it up.
Well, right now, I mean, let's face it, the news that you're getting out of Van Halen right now is not like, earth-shaking news. Like,
No.
the news is David Lee Roth shaved his head. He's bald now.
And he's got a big side tattoo.
Right. And then the next bit of news was Eddie Van Halen spoke at the Smithsonian. He quit coloring his hair, so he's all gray now.
Right.
This is news from Van Halen now, so it's not like we're talking about shattering news.
And they're getting ready to re-release the first four
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
First four records, which, unless they put bonus tracks on it, I think it's just stupid because they've already re-released those
Yeah.
like 3 or 4
and
different
over
times.
again,
Yeah.
I think the difference is that they're all on vinyl. Well, you can get CD and vinyl too.
Yeah. And I'm getting to the point now, like, if you're going to re-release something,
Yeah.
throw extra tracks on it and make it to where like a fan wants to buy it. Unless if it's like they're through their own record label now, which
Yeah.
would make sense because then they can start reaping all the benefits from that.
Yeah.
Well, here I'm going to say this, maybe you guys don't agree with me or not, is that Van Halen itself, what Van Halen is, the members of Van Halen, it's not the most creative thing anymore. I think when Van Halen had their downtime for years upon years, it probably would have been beneficial for Eddie and Alex to venture off and get into different bands and do other things to come back to be re-inspired to make great Van Halen music again. But I just felt like after that last release of theirs, it was the same stuff.
Well, some of it was old stuff too. It was
Right.
just re-recorded.
It's just
So-
it's the same stuff. It just when you think of Van Halen, you think of Van Halen. There's nothing like, wow, did you hear that new Van Halen song?
No, it's like
it's nothing. It's just there's Van Halen again.
Yeah.
So
You're right.
It excites me, but what I was gonna say is now with Hagar doing different things, is that what you were kind of thinking? Maybe that Alex and Eddie should have been doing, like they should have ventured off doing. Hagar had the chicken foot, and now he's got the new one.
right, and that's just it's a new live album coming out with Sammy Hagar, Michael Anthony,
saw it, too.
Jason Bonham, and
Yeah.
who's the guitar player? It's
can't
not
place
it's
it.
not Tony McAlpine, is it?
No.
Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to get at here is at least ego wise, Sammy Hagar he wasn't scared to try different things and do different things to be inspired and keep his name still fresh.
I think Sammy's like a more just chill guy though too. I think
Yeah.
Sammy be the one you like if you bump into in a bar, he's gonna have a shot with you.
Well, he has his own bar. That
Right.
he probably gets you a shot.
You know what I mean? But like if you bump into like Alex or Eddie,
Yeah.
you're gonna be like horse collared and
piss
taken down.
off.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Sammy's just like a chill dude, and he does stay busy though. Whether it's him doing like which was supposed to be a Montrose reunion that never, obviously because of
Right.
Ronnie, but I don't know. I think Sammy's, like you said, he stayed busy and he kept his name in the papers and stuff. As far as Alex and Ellie, they just kind of faded away after Van Halen 3, and
Yeah.
you didn't really see very much of them anymore. Except
Yeah.
for those two, when they did that Best of Both Worlds thing, they re-recorded.
Right.
They did 2 songs, I think, with Sammy.
And they did the Humans Being or whatever else was on that soundtrack to Twister.
soundtrack.
Right.
Yeah. So actually, they scored that soundtrack. Like the music that you hear was part of that.
Oh, really?
movie, so
But what it is, in as we're talking about this, is that kids are not inspired by Van Halen anymore. There's because they never diversified themselves. They never tried different things. It was the same stuff over and over again. It didn't matter who was singing for them.
Right.
It was still Van Halen. Even the one album with Gary Strone singing,
Right.
it was still Van Halen.
I think the only band that's really got away with that and kept up would be AC/DC, and they even took a long break.
Right.
Yeah.
When they came back with
Black,
Black
Ice.
Ice.
Yeah. Black
and it was huge. It was like a huge seller for them. But they took so much time off.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. It's just, I guess with AC/DC, it's just, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And,
And save that thought because I have my own theory and thoughts on the AC/DC thing. Maybe we could save that for a different show.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So, jeez, there it is.
It's
I'm
in your head.
catching it. It
Yeah,
is.
it's
I'm
in your
like,
head
I'm gonna
now.
kill myself doing it. I was like, oh, come on. Well, that's what I have. I'm sitting here shaking my goddamn head. Well, anyway, let's move on to Jake. Jake, what did you bring? Because I don't know anything about this, so I'm excited.
when the topic came up of cross genres, I decided to go a little different here.
Okay.
My idea of the cross genre type of thing. I mean, you guys all picked obviously cross genre stuff like with as in like crossing over to a different style of music.
Yeah.
My idea was, I came to the idea of grabbing the Soul Asylum CD called Grave Dancers Union because it crossed them over into mainstream.
Okay.
I did a little differently. This is their fourth or fifth release. I can't remember off the top of my head. So I mean, they were around forever, but they're just mainly known in like Minnesota, St. Paul, because that's where they're from. They did like the stuff with the Husker Du and the Replacements. That was like their little clique they hung out with. You know what I mean? So I decided to do this one. It came out in 93?
I believe it did.
93, 92. And it was a huge record for them. Huge record because of MTV, like anything in the early 90s, MTV made you or broke you. And they had obviously the huge hit that probably everybody knows, Runaway Train, which in the video featured, like actual runaway kids, missing since blah, 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 and had their photo on it and stuff, with little snippets of the band playing. And then they had a couple other hits, Somebody's Shove, which is like my favorite off the disc, and then Black Gold. But they're like one of the bands that like they broke off. They broke it and made it to where like other bands from like that era didn't really like. The Replacements probably should have made it. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have a great catalog.
Yeah.
And Husker Du should have made it bigger too. It's just when they were the one that got lucky.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, there's some really good stuff on here that a lot of people really haven't heard. Dave Pirino is such a great songwriter, and a lot of it's some of it's like personal stuff, and then it's weird out of nowhere. Like I don't know where the hell he's coming from, to be honest. I mean, but I guess that's the fun of it. But it was a huge record. The drummer actually for the band was replaced for a couple songs mid-session because the producer was not happy with the way he was drumming. Like,
really? Huh?
He's like basically like saying, "You suck. We're gonna get somebody else in here." And they hired a studio drummer by the name of Sterling Campbell, who actually ended up replacing him in the band for 2 records, I believe. For the record after this and the record after the following 2 records.
Yeah. Were they produced by the same guy?
I know the next one I think was. I don't know if the third one, because they were all. I think they're all 3 on Columbia.
It was Let Your Dim Light Shine.
Yeah.
Right. And was it Michael Beinhorn was the producer for the one previous, the Grave Dancers Union. And I'm trying to get a little information here, and it doesn't say who was, but Sterling Campbell was the official band drummer at that time.
Yeah, so like he actually drummed on Runaway Train, but as far as how the way stuff like that works, the actual band drummer was actually in the videos and stuff like that. So just kind of weird how that stuff works out. So he actually got. I mean, in the liner notes, it has Sterling Campbell under additional musicians. Okay. But Grant Young was actually the drummer, so it was kind of weird how that worked out. But
which is another. Here we go again. The record company rules the roost. They decide who they're going to make their mainstream hit.
Yep.
And people forget about great releases that Soul Asylum had before this album.
Yeah.
Like Hang Time, which was fantastic album. I'm not going to use the word insane or amazing, like our buddy Eddie Trunk says. And the album before this and the roast they wrote in on. Once again, you got to remember that back in the 80s, there was a little show on MTV on Sunday nights called 120 Minutes, and it was all about alternative rock, and Soul Asylum was on there consistently, and they were far from being a record company's wet dream, but they just ended up they made him into that, and it's too bad because he was a great drummer.
Yeah,
he was a great drummer, but he wasn't a top 40 style studio drummer.
And see, like you said though, like one thing, this was obviously the first release I ever heard from these guys.
Yeah.
But because of this, I went back. Yeah. And that's like as music collectors stuff like that. Yeah, you're gonna look back, and Hang Time is an amazing record, but it's nothing like this. It's more like crunchy, more rock guitar driven. This is more a lot of acoustic stuff on here, which I think was great. I mean, they even obviously like during this time's when MTV's Unplugged was really big too.
Yeah.
It's very big.
And they were on there too. They did.
Oh, they did.
Yeah,
Good.
and they did a lot of their older songs
Yeah.
acoustically, which I thought was really cool because they could have just done basically this whole disc.
Yeah.
But they went back and tried to draw fans into their older stuff, which I think was really great. And I think that's, if anything came out of this one like huge hit, like this went 3 times platinum in like '93.
Really.
So I mean, it only took them a year.
Back when numbers meant something.
Yeah, right. You know, it wasn't like YouTube plays or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, if anything came out of it because of me finding out about this, I got to go back, and I still followed them. I mean, they just put out a record maybe 2-3 years ago. I picked up, and it's still consistently what you expect to get out of Soul Asylum.
Yeah.
Soul Asylum commercial style or Soul Asylum before commercial style?
It's a little bit of both. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's definitely some poppy stuff on there, like stuff that should be hits. Like if they would have put out that record a year after this one, it'd be stuff that people would know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They had like one hit, I think, on the record following this called Misery.
Okay.
And it's funny though, because like I actually forgot about that song for a while until I was reading Motley Crue's book, The Dirt.
Okay.
And it was Tommy Lee talking about when he made that tape with Pamela.
Oh, yeah.
And as they're driving on interstate, that song played in the background, like over the
Was
radio.
that it? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So it was one of those kind of funny things. Like, oh wow, they actually played that song on the radio once upon a time.
Man, did I really masturbate to that song?
Yeah,
Jeez,
right?
Come on. I didn't even know. I was too busy focusing on Pam.
So I mean, I don't know. This record is just one of those things that like, it's more than the one hit single. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's 12 tracks on them, and everyone's damn good. But I mean, it's just one of those things like I can skip Runaway Train every time I play it now. Kind of like, for me, if I ever put on Nirvana's Nevermind,
Yeah.
I skip track
Skip
one.
all
right
there you
away,
go, yeah.
right away. I listen to maybe like 2 or 3 songs off that record now because I've heard everything else so much.
Yeah.
But that's getting off topic. But this record I think is really good. I think if you haven't heard it or have only heard Runaway Train,
Yeah.
go give it a spin. It's not that bad. You can always find it in the used record store because so many people bought it back in the day.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I don't need
Yeah, I
this
think
anymore.
I bought this one for $5.99.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
So I mean,
Well.
you can find it anywhere. It's a great record.
In the notes here, it's quoted by saying that this album established Soul Asylum as one of the most successful rock groups of the first half of the '90s.
Yeah, I mean, they
So-
were. It really did them well. I mean, and because of that, they can still tour because of this
the
record. You know what I
Runaway Train,
mean?
all that.
Yeah, because of that they can stop by. I think they actually I missed it, but they played at. What's that free show they do in Davenport, like the Rib Fest?
Oh,
the
yeah,
River
the
Roots.
River Roots.
River Roots. They
Yeah.
actually headlined that one year, and I couldn't
Oh,
go.
did they? Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, it's because of this record they can do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they could still do it. I mean, they're down to one original member now because
Mm-hmm.
one passed away from cancer, and the other one just after 20-something years, he was
Mm-hmm.
just like, I'm done. But I mean, it's a great record. And if you like this, go check out other stuff too. Like Nez was saying, I mean, Hang Time is an amazing record
Yeah.
that needs to be checked out too. And they got, I think they're up to like 10 or 11 records now.
Huh.
So I mean, they got a nice catalog, all worth checking out. I mean, you can make your own little playlist if you want, something you can do on YouTube or something.
Yeah,
So
probably pop up on that, like, 90s rock playlist all the time.
all the time, yeah. I mean, if you got VH1 Classic, they're always on that 100 because they still air 120 minutes. I mean, they're up there with like Jim Blossoms, and then you throw in like the Replacements. They had a couple on there too. They did actually spun around every once in a while.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So that's basically them crossing into
like
It was the mainstream.
mainstream.
It was
yeah,
the mainstream.
it's them getting out of St. Paul, Minnesota.
okay,
And actually
yeah.
getting fans, and because like I said though, because honestly, if that one of broke as big, I probably would never heard of him either. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's an interesting take on that because, like I said, I mean that I know Runaway Train.
right.
I didn't know anything about that before or after because really, I
That's
didn't.
just that's the shame of one hit wonders.
Yeah.
There's usually a lot more.
I like to. Yeah, go ahead.
No, like there's a lot more like releases they have out, and it's just that people just focus on that one disc. You know what I mean? So
I like to think what Soul Asylum how the record company, what they did to Soul Asylum paved the way for what happened to the Goo Goo Dolls. Because once again, the Goo Goo Dolls were they were a metal band.
Yeah,
Were
yeah,
they
that's-
really?
They were a
yeah,
metal band.
yeah, they
Like
were
Johnny
like,
Resnick was like, whoa.
Oh no, they were a very hard metal band.
yeah. Basically, yeah, you can compare their
gosh.
like Goo Goo Dolls earlier stuff to Hang Time, and then you can get like this one with what was that huge one? Dizzy Up or Dizzy Up the Girl or some shit like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and that's the one that you hear like when you walk into like when I remember going to like Mallard's games like during the like heyday.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all you ever heard was like Slide and shit like that.
Yeah.
And that's when MTV was still playing music videos every once in a while.
Yeah.
And it's
But
the lead
that-
singer with an acoustic guitar. The same thing is what did this to Soul Asylum.
But what are you gonna do? You're having a hard time making it, and the record company's offering you big bucks, and
Right, Runaway Train.
and you're going to maybe become a millionaire out
Yeah.
of it. You know.
Yeah, but see what? Let's get a little off topic though too. With I watched what is that stupid show? There's a show on like on a dish like a dish or DirecTV station, Guitar Center or something like that. They have
Guitar Sessions.
yeah, Guitar Sessions.
That's a good show.
And Goo Goo Dolls were actually on there, and they didn't make a dime off that record.
Really?
That record that sold because when they signed that contract, it was like all the royalties they didn't get.
Yeah.
Something like they got screwed over really bad, and that
Really?
record sold. Every like middle school girl had that record.
Right.
You know what I
Like
mean?
the Guitar Center sessions or the
They
No,
were
no.
interviewed
No,
on.
they were
Oh,
they-
about-
yeah,
about- okay.
about that, and they were talking about like how like they just got
Really?
completely screwed. Yeah.
Wow, man.
that happens.
See,
for you.
man.
You
Yeah.
gotta get a good lawyer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. It's, tell me about it. You know, I think we talked about the 30 Seconds to Mars fiasco the other day. But that's a whole nother topic that we could probably do a whole show on.
Yeah, Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue, when they re-released all their stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Nikki Sixx had to sign a paper saying he would not disclose how he was able to earn all the
Royalties.
all the masters
Oh.
from the records, and that's how you got like all the re-released Motley Crue stuff with all the bonus tracks.
Yeah.
He basically found some way that he could own his masters again, some legal loophole.
Wow.
Then he had to sign a paper from Elektra saying that he would never disclose how he figured it out.
Yeah.
And they've made buku bucks from that since then.
And it's still a mystery then? Like, nobody
Yeah,
knows how he got it?
yeah, because he can't disclose how he did it. And-
Because if anything leaked, he'd probably get,
oh yeah, Yep.
right up the butt. So, yeah, that's pretty amazing. I didn't know that about the Goo Goo Dolls, and definitely going to be interested in checking that out. But
And just watch the behind the music on YouTube or something. Seriously, I mean, it's really crazy when you hear the earlier stuff. They're really,
Very edgy band.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
nice, man. Well, hey, that's why I love doing this, because I get to learn new things like that, and we get to talk about things that I've heard of that I didn't think existed until you actually told me you ordered the CD of it. Right? You have this album?
I own this CD, and I'm not saying I'm proud I own it because on the musical end of things, but I own this because I had to have it because it's
a
just
collector.
because I can say I have this.
Yeah, and so what do we got? Please.
Well, in 1989, Dee Dee Ramone released his first solo studio album called Dee Dee King. And if you fellow listeners do not know what the genre of this album was, it was Dee Dee Ramone doing rap hip hop.
Wow.
Now, we all know here that Dee Dee Ramone was a part of the famous Ramones punk rock phenomenon of the 70s and early 80s. But we all know that Dee Dee Ramone had major issues, and one of them was heroin. And heroin
Yeah.
pretty much ruled his life. So I guess through most of his, since I believe he was 14 years old, he fought drug addiction, and most commonly heroin, supposedly. But during his time in the middle to late 80s, he was serving some time in an alcohol rehab facility, and while he was in the facility, he discovered old school hip hop. And after he got out of rehab, he decided that he was going to also become a hip hop artist, along with being a musician in the Ramones. Well, as this concurred, he was showing up to Ramones gigs in full hip hop gear.
Wow. It's like the
very
full-on
bizarre.
Adidas tracksuit and stuff.
Supposedly, I'm not quite sure exactly what he was wearing, but I guess he was wearing the big chains of like the Run DMC era.
Sunglasses.
So soon after he started taking on this moniker of being a hip hop artist, he was out of the Ramones within a few months, and was not really supported by the Ramones. But Marky, the drummer at the time, did support him. And so he came out with this album, and it's called D.D. King, Standing in the Spotlight. And I guess the best way to put a synopsis on this whole atrocious release is it's a cross between old school hip-hop rap and early 50s doo-wop music, done in doo-wop music genre. And to say it's a train wreck, it's a train wreck. And sometimes I put it on my stereo just to get a reaction out of my teenagers in this house.
Yeah.
Go ahead if you guys have anything to.
I honestly, I don't know what to say because, you know, I know the Ramones, you know, as a punk thing and whatnot. And like I said, I didn't know this existed. I mean, I don't even think I've listened to any of it. So, and I see the All Music Review stars is 1.5.
Right.
So it must have done something to do that.
Well, I think, you know, as I recall, like once again, I do all the time of my teenage years of going up to the Rock Island Co-op Tapes and Records, and as you walk into the store, you know, obviously they're going to have the stuff that's the hot sellers up front, like any record store would do. And the Rock Island Co-op was set up to where, you know, your south end wall was all hip hop music, and your far end it would be the east side of the wall was set up in displays of heavy metal, hard rock, and then adjoining to it on the left side was alternative rock to go along with it. And that D.D. King release on vinyl sat there on that display or shelf or whatever you want to call it on that wall. I never saw it move. And one day I went up to Bill Sharp, who was the manager of the Rock Island Co-op at the time, and I asked him, I said, why did you put the D.D. Ramone rap album in the alternative rock section of it all? And it was kind of like sit between the metal area and the alternative rock section. It was not, he didn't really have it in one more, but it was more toward the alternative rock section. I said, why wouldn't you put this in the hip hop rap area? And he goes, what am I supposed to do with it? It's not rap. It's
right.
I mean, it's not really rap, and it's not alternative rock. He goes, I don't really know what to do with it. And he goes, obviously it's not selling at all.
Yeah.
Right.
So he really had no idea what to do with it either. It just kind of sat there all by its lonesome for the longest time.
Now with this, I mean, I bet when people saw this release on their lists coming up, like especially store owners, did they know that this is a serious thing, or did they think that maybe this is just like a comedy thing, or?
At the time, I don't know. Jake was a former co-op employee in the Moline Co-op, and you get promos of releases and what have you. And I don't know if they ever had a promo come through on this one, or if it just came in and there you go. And there was no tidbits of like maybe a side A and side B of a cassette single of it or anything. I have no
side
idea.
C. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, this would be a side Z.
Oh, okay, perfect, awesome. Jake, what do you think? Because I'm pretty flabbergasted by this.
Don't do heroin.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just one of those things that you get band members that do something completely out of their realm, and you know, I think maybe when it first came out, you might have some like hardcore Ramones fans pick it up, just to have it, you know. But if it was any good at all, you would have heard more about it. It's one of those things. It's one of those big flops. I mean, you get people trying to do their own thing, and they think they, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe he thought he was just getting like an outlet. Maybe he got sick and tired of doing punk music for a while. I mean, you know, you can't do the same thing all day, every day. Yeah. Kind of like with Tommy Lee from Motley Crue. He did that rap, Methods of Mayhem.
Which I didn't think was entirely bad.
No, and it actually sold well.
Right. I didn't think that was entirely a bad album.
No. I mean, so, I mean, you get guys, I mean, Nikki Sixx had that 58 band, which was, like, industrially weird and but it was good. I thought. I mean,
starting kind of falling into that cross genre thing. So.
yeah.
Well-
Actually, you know, I should have brought that. Honestly, now that I think about it.
Well, here's the thing: is like okay, and like we were just talking about, like the lack of creativity of the Van Halen. You know, this Van Halen over and over again. Okay, the Ramones were a very redundant band. It was
1, 2, fuck you.
Right, and it wasn't like you were talking about. It was not more than probably 3 chords. I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
no. But that's what.
It
That's
wasn't.
what it was.
It wasn't a huge outlet for musical creativity. So
Yeah.
I can understand members of the band wanting to explore their creativities, but when you have when you're going from what these guys are from, what part of New York City were they from?
Right?
Were they from Brooklyn?
I'm pretty sure. Or Queens. I don't know. You're right.
whatever part. I don't know. But anyway. When you're doing something so drastically different, who's going to take it wholeheartedly seriously?
Right.
And according to album historians, is that this album is sometimes considered one of the biggest failures of musical recording history. It was so bad of all time. That's how bad it sold. I mean, there's a possibility that this album didn't even sell 1,000 copies.
Wow.
I mean,
How much did you pay for yours?
gentlemen.
Here we go. You got it.
Before I start divulging the cost of this CD,
Logistics, yeah.
okay, what I've found out of being a collector now is that the worse the album sells in its infancy, the more valuable it is, to
of
try
course.
to get it 20 to 25 years later.
Yeah.
Now, not to say that this is right or this is wrong, but I've seen copies of this CD on eBay and Amazon in upwards of $70.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Okay, see, that's
I feel
not what
like-
I was expecting.
Right, I got a good deal on this. I felt like when I bought it for $25.
Oh, not bad.
Okay.
So,
I mean, but I think but that makes sense though, because I mean, you go try to find Nevermind used that everybody in the world has owned. You're gonna pay a penny plus shipping.
right.
You know what I mean? Not a lot of people have that. Who knows what they do with the ones that don't sell? Did they just like toss them? You don't really know.
Maybe they buried him like that Nintendo game, though. I don't remember what game it was, but
They dispose of them. Or else you hear stuff on eBay all the time. Found a box of Dee Ramone's rap CD, buck a piece.
oh
that
man,
was not, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Basically what I kind of consider this album too is to a bottle of Crystal Pepsi. Crystal Pepsi was an absolute train wreck.
Right.
Our friend Greg Thompson once told me when he was working for Eddie Husing, his bosses told him, dump it. Dump it. Open it up and dump it. That's how bad it was. So I consider this maybe a Crystal Pepsi release in the music industry. So, but here's some things that maybe you guys might not know, is that even though it was a hip-hop album, and it's done in a doo-wop style, a musical doo-wop style. Deborah Harry sang backing vocals on the song "Mashed Potato Time."
mashed potato. Okay, yeah. Give us more name titles because that's great. Mashed potato time?
Yeah. Another one would be very interesting. She also sang backing vocals on the song "German Kid," which is rapped in German.
What?
This is getting interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say. Now
The
we're
entire
diving into it.
the song is rapped in German.
Okay.
I did not know that D.D. King spoke German, but or D.D. Ramone spoke German, but he does. So, and also Marky Ramone plays drums.
Okay, I
on
was
this-
I was wondering
on this
about
album.
that
Okay.
when you said
Right.
who supported him.
So the song titles go. Obviously, you said "Mashed Potato Time." Too much to drink, with the letter B, with it being two, the number two. Too much, two, the
cool
number.
thing.
Right. Baby doll, poor little rich girl, commotion in the ocean, German kid, Brooklyn babe. So I guess that's probably the hail from Brooklyn. Emergency, the crusher, and I want what I want when I want it. I mean, we're talking just absolutely
Yeah.
intellectual titles here,
Yeah,
like no
man.
other.
I mean, it must be. I wonder if those are all about the same girl. But no, not with poor little rich girl and Brooklyn babe being the same thing. So I don't think any rich people live in Brooklyn. I don't know. I've never been. So
Well, when we were talking about doing crossover stuff, I was kind of stuck, and Victor said to me, he was like, "What about that weird Dee Ramone CD that you
Yeah.
own?" I thought, well, that probably would be pretty good to do because
and it was.
Because
It's a good
nobody knows about
idea.
it.
Yeah.
No,
And it's funny though, because after we sit down and talk about this for a while, then you start coming up with other ideas. Like, I probably could have done that 58 record, and because I think I'm one of like 4,000 people that own that record. I'm serious. I mean,
Are you being generous with that
Yeah,
number?
probably. Well, no, because I'll take into fact all the hardcore, crazy, stupid Motley Crue fans.
Okay. Oh, I know a few of them actually.
Yeah, I do too. I got a
David.
buddy. I got a buddy. I call him Motley Crue Corey.
Motley Crue Corey.
Yeah, because he's that
Maybe
hardcore about it.
I should call my buddy Motley Crue David. So I don't know.
So I mean, yeah, it's just it's just kind of funny after we sit here and talk a little bit all the other stuff we can come up with.
There's all kinds of things, man. But yeah, I'm glad you went with this because I might want to listen to this sometime.
A good idea for after this podcast gets uploaded. I think we should all post links to the stuff that we.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have no full album, listens and stuff.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea because I think I'm gonna go home and check out some D.D. King.
Well, when you guys listen to D.D. King, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to laugh hysterically or you're going to cry
Right.
unforgettably because it's this bad, gentlemen.
I don't know. I'll probably end up crying. So, well, hey, thanks for sharing that one, and I'm glad you went with it because I was hoping you would. And this is the kind of topic that I think it's entertaining. I think it was fun to kind of brush up on this kind of stuff again. D.D. King, incredible. Soul Asylum. I'm more interested in going back and listening to the other stuff. So that's pretty cool about that.
It's definitely worth it. I mean, like we were talking about with the Goo Goo Dolls stuff before they got huge, and acoustic guitar-y.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you guys, I'm going to make a promise to you guys when we're doing these album reviews.
Okay.
So, like, my first album review was Kiss Music from the Elder, which was a humongous commercial flop. And I've done now D.D. King, which is, I guarantee you guys that I'll always do hugely commercially flopped reviews for you and everybody else that wants to listen to this thing.
Well, I think that's a good idea, though, because you know what? Just because it's something that we are commercially flopped or we to think it's not that great, who knows? Somebody might listen to that record and think, this song isn't actually that bad.
You could change.
Nobody is going to do that.
No, hold on. You could change somebody's fucking life with that, man. I'm serious.
I'm going to guarantee you two and anybody that will end up listening to this podcast, if there's just one other person that listens to it, everybody is going to have the same theory about this album.
Okay, no, I'll tell you what. If you guys are listening, somebody tell me if this changes your life because I have a feeling it would, and it will be a life-changing experience. Maybe you might need to start going to church, and you're going to be a better person because of it. So,
well, I guarantee you guys, whoever wants to listen to this one, this album, and you're hearing the suffering afterwards, I know a good audiologist.
All right, there you go. Well, those are the things that make this podcast enjoyable, and we hope you guys enjoy it as much as we do. Like I said, we're just a couple guys that are huge fans of music. We're not experts. We're open to suggestions. We take some constructive criticism. Just don't slam us because, just to be assholes. But if I'm doing something wrong or if we're missing points, let us know. Get on the Facebook, Quad City Music Fans, Traders and Collectors.
Collectors and Traders. We're all on there, or you can go ahead and add us on Facebook. Jake Turner, Eric Nesbitt, and Victor Martinez Jr. I have no problem sitting here chatting music, and I'm ready for the next one. And you were saying some good ones, we're not anti-Semitic or anything, but the Jews in rock and roll, that could be a great topic because there are all kinds, or
Kiss.
Yeah, Kiss, the main ones.
Rush.
But Rush, and Canadian Jew, same thing, right?
Oh no, Geddy Lee's Jewish, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
he's doing, yeah.
Slash from Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, there you go.
What?
See, I'm telling you.
He's a black Jew. What up with that?
But the biggest thing is that we want this to stay fresh, and we want people to listen to this. So, like I've put on Facebook on the Music Lovers Facebook page, we will definitely want other people to join into this podcast to make it interesting, and you guys know more than we do about lots of different things. And it's really refreshing if we get another point of view of some other topic that we have.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it'd be we'll even take suggestions on topics because it'll still stay fresh for us. But we just kind of come like, all right, what do you want to do this episode on?
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. So
if there's something you want to hear, let us know because this is what it's all about. I'm not one to venture into podcasting a lot. This is all new to me. This is all new to us. But I'm happy to be doing it because it's something we get passionate. We're passionate about music and just sitting here talking and enjoying. As we're learning new things. So again, join the Facebook page. friend us on Facebook. You know, I got my Twitter at Victory Moses. Might get one going here for the show. Maybe that'll be easier to suggest things. But please be our guests. You know, we are for you. We're for you, and we are for the children, just like Wu-Tang. So, that's a whole nother topic.
There we go.
I'm thrilled. But thanks for listening. Please like, comment, share, link to other people. You know, maybe they might enjoy a listen. You know, we do our best here, doing what we love and talking about what we love. So please, you know, do all that social media junk, and we will try to interact with you guys as much as possible, because this is an art form, and that's why we're in the Hodge Park multimedia studios here in Rock Island, Illinois, and we're your hosts, and we love you guys. So again, we got Jake Turner, which Barstow, the pride of Barstow,
self-anointed mayor.
Eric Nesbitt, and I'm just gonna stick with Vic or Victor, whatever. But we hope to hear back from you guys, and keep an ear out for the next podcast.
Hey, man, may I interject before we shut this thing off?
Sure.
I just want to let you guys, just in the famous words of Gene Simmons, God gave rock and roll to you.
Aww.
What about Satan? Satan maybe gave me some. So
Let's hope so.
all right, take care, guys.
All right, you guys want a beer?
Yeah, I'll take one.